Radiant and Resilient is about mindset and faith to break paradigms and overcome challenges in our life. Because when the mind, body, and spirit are aligned, we literally radiate from the inside out. I'm Kay Vasquez. Let's dive in. This incredible woman is such a genuine, human, and heartfelt soul. And I had the honor to really get to know her since October. When I went to a Powerhouse Women event, heard her speak, her story was so inspiring because she was a former PA like myself. She was in orthopedics, working as a PA, also a college soccer coach, and then left her career to become an entrepreneur and retired her husband a year later. I was just so inspired by her story that I connected with her afterwards, even worked with her for a short period of time. She became a mentor and a close friend. She's also the podcast host and event host of the Next Level You podcast and event, which I got to be a part of this year. And it was just such an incredible experience. So I'd love to welcome you to Radiant and Resilient, Jenna Klopfenstein.
Thank you so much. We're here. This is such a special moment to be here with you, and I receive all those kind words. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your community with me and giving me this opportunity today. I'm super excited to chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know Jenna, she's an entrepreneur, but she's a mental edge and growth coach.
Mental edge and performance coach.
Yeah. And share a little bit like what is the community? Who are the types of people that you love to serve now?
Yeah, for sure. So like Kate said, I'm a mental edge and performance coach. I'm a speaker. I'm a podcaster. I'm a mama of 2 young boys. I'm a wife to my best friend. I'm a dreamer. I'm all the things. I really believe that we all have a limitless identity. I was a former collegiate athlete, so I played Division I college soccer. I coached college soccer. I was a former orthopedic PA for 10 years. And so I've been a high performer and a high achiever my whole life. I love to serve people at that frequency. There is something, whether it's athletics or whatever that is for you that are listening, athletics is definitely what shaped me in big ways and helped me build skills such as resiliency throughout the years and be able to do what I do now and serve people on a high level, elite leaders, high performers, whether that's in corporate America, that's executives, that's team leaders, that's coaches of athletic teams. It's on the one-on-one level, but I really just am so passionate about helping people unlock their next level. And that's very dimensional. It's deep. And as you know, Kate, we've talked about this many times. You can't just do the strategy side of things. And why I love that, I love the action pieces. I love strategizing with my clients. It's really the ability to go deep with them. For me, it's the depth, it's not the width. And so I serve my clients on a deep level and a high level. And I'm really, really passionate about serving leaders because I know that there's a trickle down effect. And if I'm able to serve leaders, I know how big of an impact that will make, because obviously as leaders ourselves, then we impact and touch so many lives. And so I believe in that ripple effect. And I love to serve elite leaders.
Yes. And I've seen that in so many ways with you and how you just show up and serve. And it's really true because when we serve the leader, it does create that ripple effect, whether it's a leader in an athletic team or leader in a corporate team or even a leader in the home, in the family.
Yes.
It doesn't really matter. It's just like we're all leading in some capacity and it does create that ripple effect. And I just love how you also mentioned strategies are great, but strategies alone is not enough. And that's something that I recognize too when working with clients, especially in functional medicine with health. It's like, yeah, I can give you the strategies plan all day, but if we don't do the inner work, go inward to uncover the mindset piece, the emotions behind everything that we do, because we're going to get in our own way. We're going to self-sabotage ourselves. And that's, definitely something that we've talked about, because one of the things that inspired me about you, especially, when you left your career that first year, you took massive action, and it took a lot of mindset shift to be able to do that. So can you share a little bit about how you just showed up, how you took action, what that looked like for you in that first year.
Of course. Yeah. So I think it's important to give a glimpse into my life a couple years ago. My whole life, like I said, I was check the boxes. I was a high achiever. I was your traditional, like, let me do that next thing, that next achievement. Let me be the best of the best at what I do. And I realized a couple years ago that was very extrinsic. You know, at that time, I was an orthopedic PA. I was a college soccer coach. And I was a mom of 2 kids after struggling with infertility, married to the most amazing man, lived in the house, had it all, right? Like from an extrinsic standpoint, but my cadence of life was off. And this is something that I talk to about often. There were a lot of things in my life that I desired that I had just written off because I chose a path that those weren't doable. For example, right? Walking my kids to school, going on field trips, being able to work out midday, being able to go on a walk midday, being able to have coffee on the back porch with my husband. There's so many things that I could go on and on that I had just said to myself, well, that's just not my life, because I chose to be a PA and it has set hours. I got up when it was dark outside. I went to the OR. Surgery started at 6:30. I mean, that was my life. And so I was of the mindset that that was going to be my forever because I had chosen such a stable job and it brought in the money and the healthcare. And I know if you're listening to this, like, you can relate in some capacity. And I always say we share our stories to connect, but you find pieces that then make it relatable to you and applicable to your life. But I was living my life there and we would have been really happy. You know, like Isaac, my husband and I, we would have been fine continuing down that path. But I became really curious. What does it look like to have the cadence of life that I desire, and what has to change? And so, like, that first step for me, Kate, when you talk about the mindset, is I didn't really get radically honest with myself about, okay, what is really important to me? What is not working in how I'm living? My mindset, number one, my thoughts that I'm telling myself. And I realized that I was telling myself that this was my forever because I made that decision at a certain time. And the reality is, if you're listening to this, you're allowed to change your mind at any given moment. And God created us to evolve and to grow. And it's something that we don't give ourselves permission enough to. So, you know, fast forward, I started to become really, really curious about the things that I wanted. And I started to think about, how did I want to feel in my day to day? What do I want my life to look like? And then what had to happen for me to be that person and live that life? Well, I had to leave my job as a PA. That was a big realization. That is something that we could talk about for hours and hours, all the layers of what went into that. But there was a big, big mindset shift that it sank in, that life is fragile. Tomorrow's not given. We hear it all the time, but does it really sink in? And things in my life started to happen. People got sick. People passed away. Things happened. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I am not going to ever walk my kids to school. I'm not ever going to have this. Like, this can't be my forever. I'm too smart. I'm too capable. And so I did a bunch of things that we could talk about, or you can connect with me after the podcast and I can tell you what I did. But the biggest mindset shifts for me were just saying, okay, this is really what is my biggest priorities. God, my family, so my husband and my boys. And I looked at my calendar and I said, well, they're not getting the best of me. They're not getting my time and energy. They're getting what's the rest of me, and my work, and all these people are getting all of this. And it's just not how I want to live my life anymore. So I took a lot of steps. I took a lot of action. That's investments in mentorship, events, in courses, and all these things to obviously be able to leave my job and to now build this business and retire Isaac from teaching, all the things, right? But the biggest thing was just like saying, I'm a different person and I desire different things. And so I have to change the way I think. I have to give myself permission to become somebody new and to live a new life. And that's what I have. I've continued to make myself uncomfortable and give myself permission to be the person I want to be and to have the life that I really want.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those mindset shifts, because I truly believe when we share our stories, we can see the similarities. And even though we have different experiences and different things that are happening in our life, I even share on, I think in the first couple of episodes, like there's some common themes because I too recognize it's like when there's something our heart is truly desiring and we don't have it yet. God wants to give us the desires of our heart, but we also have to do our part and take action and recognize what needs to change. And most of the time it's we need to change. We're the ones that need to change. We need to change how we think, how we feel, the actions that we take in order to achieve that. And that's something that I recognized on my journey, because when I was a PA, I wasn't happy and fulfilled. And then I learned about functional medicine. So I had to take action in line with like, okay, now I'm going to become an entrepreneur, a business owner, a functional medicine practitioner, to shift out of that, which required a lot of mindset shifts. But also, like when I was a year into my marriage, on the brink of divorce with my husband, I realized instead of rely on him to change, I realized I needed to change in that moment. And so I love that you share that perspective, because these are the mindset shifts. It's like exactly what you said, taking that radical honesty and looking inward and saying, okay, what needs to change? What are the thoughts that need to change? What are the beliefs that needs to change? What are the actions that need to change to get me in alignment with what I want, but also be very clear with what do you want? What is the life that you want to create? Because we are creating our reality.
Yes. Amen to that. And I always love to give like things that somebody can take, like action items. So like, I'll give you a few of those that I didn't say in that little piece. And you said it, like, if you want your life to change, how I said that I wanted all those things, I wanted a different cadence of life. You have to change, and you have to change. And the foundation of you changing is to change your thoughts, because your thoughts become things, right? Your thoughts become your reality, and you are the creator of your reality. And so when I really think about those things that I did, my if statements became when statements. I shared that on that Powerhouse Women stage that you heard me speak. It was like, not if I leave my job, when I leave my job, not if, but when, not if, but when. And that simple shift makes it a certainty and makes it more real, right? I had to pull myself up, make myself uncomfortable to be her now, to be the person that I desired to be before I actually felt ready financially, or fill in the blank, like confidence, anything that you want to say. But I had to challenge myself to be the person that I wanted to be before I felt ready or had all the answers, because the reality is you have to say yes before you have the how. If you wait for the how, you're going to be waiting forever. And the other thing was, really changing, and I alluded to this, but like what I was willing to risk is like, I wasn't willing to risk not walking my kids to school, or being part of PTO, or having the coffee on the back porch with my husband, all those things. I was willing to risk a little bit more the like traditional healthcare and the security. And that's a lot of money mindset, which is an episode in itself. But I released the power that money had over me. And Kate, you've heard me say this time and time again, our mentorship together, our work together, our friendship is, trust, trust, trust. I had to really trust myself, trust God's plan and timing for me, fully surrender, open palms to him, right? Loosen the reins, and trust the unfolding of everything, that life happens for me. The yeses, the nos, the hard, the highs, everything's happening for me. And when you do that, you're able to go into life, to take action, to live in a different way that isn't as heavy, that is lighter, because you're releasing the control and you're surrendering to his plan, and that he's got you. And I know that you believe in that. And that's why I share that on this conversation. That's the real. I mean, that's what I do every day. I wake up, trust, 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 trust myself, trust God's plan, his timing, and I trust the unfolding of everything that's happening in my life.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you touched upon that, because trust has also been something that has come up for me time and time again, even now in the season of pregnancy and stepping into my new role as a mom. It's just like trusting and unfolding, because all those thoughts and those beliefs can start to come up. Oh, am I going to be a good enough mom? Am I going to have the time to be a mom? All these different things, but it's like just really surrendering and trust. And when we talk about trust and surrender, yes, it's important, these pieces, but it can be really hard to actually trust and surrender. So what did that look like for you, just really fully embodying that trust and surrender? Because it's a daily practice, right?
Amen to that. Amen to that. So I always give the, like, if you're like seeing me, which I know if you're listening to this, you're not seeing me, but like for so long as a high achiever or a high performer, however you want to like label yourself, right? Because we do that. Even though I have been a Christian, even though I feel like I've trusted God, for the longest time, I had my fist closed and I was like controlling. Well, when I left my job as a PA, I didn't know how to control that much, right? So that was my first true test to surrender. And so now my hands were like this and I was palms up and I was really saying, like, not even to quote Carrie Underwood, right? But I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel, like guide me, and it was really my first test of like, okay, Jenna, like you trust me, you're going to surrender to me. And I have. Now, it's not easy because when the money starts to hit and you're not seeing money come in, you're taking on debt or you're doing these things and things aren't going the way that you plan, it's really easy to go back to, oh, let me take control. But every time I go to do that, there's something inside me. It's called my intuition that it just is like, no, that's not right. And I always say my gut, my intuition's God, right? Being like, no, like keep going in. So it was more so this. It was like really becoming in tune with my subconscious, my intuition, right? Like listening to myself, tapping into my knowing of myself and saying like, I don't have all the answers and that's okay. And as a Christian, having continuous dialogue with God and not being afraid to talk to him about money and like all the things that we think that maybe we can't talk to him about. And I talk to him more than I ever have before, Kate. And that's a big part of it. Is it's just like this relationship. Everything boils down to relationship with God and my faith, relationship with Isaac, my partner, relationship with my kids, relationship with my clients, right? Relationship with money. It's all relational. And the more that we can see it like that, and we can treat everything in life like that, the less stress and overwhelm and heaviness we experience, the more peace we're at, the more clarity and alignment we're able to take action from. And I went on a rant like from your original question, but like that's my truth that I live in daily. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that. But like that is how you're able to trust and surrender, is just like every day waking up with that frame of mind and being okay not knowing it all, but also being okay admitting that to God or whatever higher being you believe in, to admit that to yourself, to have that relationship with your spouse or whoever, right? And just to be honest with yourself.
Yes, be honest with yourself. and I love so many key points and takeaways from that. It's just letting go of control and building that relationship with God. Because I believed in God, but I wasn't really close to God until my husband and I we joined, because I was Catholic, he was on a non-denominational, and then we finally just found a non-denominational church that felt like home, and then just started building my faith and connection with God. But also entrepreneurship really challenged me in so many ways. And I realized like there were moments in my life where I was trying to take control and things didn't work out the way I wanted and expected. And I'm just like, okay, God, I'm surrendering. Like I can't do this on my own. And I'm grateful for the journey, because since then it's just really strengthened my faith and relationship in him, and these journeys that we go on. I do believe like God allows us to go through different things and learn these lessons, like, letting go and surrendering and trusting him. So thank you for sharing, what that looked like for you, that process of going into trust, going into surrender. I don't believe there's like one right way, to do that. It's going to look so different for everyone, but really tuning in, listening to your intuition. I think the biggest key too is just slowing down, because when we're go
yeah, that's exactly where I was going with this. You read my mind. Is surrender is, there's a parallel to this, right? There's everything works together. Physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, everything goes. And so you've heard me say this time and time again, but I'm really in this season of life of do less better, of slow down, of stillness, of being. And as high performers, that is harder for us than the hustle and the achieving. So where surrender is very much like palms up, like, all right, I trust, like I'm not in control. Well, hey, we're never in control, whether we think we are or we're not, right?
Exactly.
The slowdown, as high achievers, high performers, right? This slowdown for us is so important. And like I said, I'm in this season of do less better. It doesn't mean less money. It doesn't mean less impact. It doesn't mean less fulfilling. It's actually like flipping that on its side and saying, that's actually the way. Doing less better, you can make more money. You can be more focused on one thing. You can have more fulfillment. You can go deeper, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, deeper with your clients or those that you are serving. You can have deeper impact, and you can have what we ultimately desire, the peace within yourself, the fulfillment, the presence with those that you love, the freedom to do what you love. And it's just like really retraining ourselves in a different way than society that we've been raised as high performers, is like, work harder, do. You know, I use the anecdote from U Squared, that book, all the time. And I highly recommend, if you haven't read the book U Squared, to get the book. You can read it in one day. And there's an anecdote in the very beginning talking about a fly that literally is trying to get out of a closed glass window. And it's just like hitting that window over and over. It's working so hard and it's going to die there. And that is such a powerful metaphor to high achievers in the world that we live in, is we're going to work so hard, and we're going to die there. And what I mean die, I don't mean like actual die, maybe. I mean like burnout. I mean depression. I mean anxiety. I mean overwhelm. I mean divorce. I mean all these things, right? Because what it really takes is you to zoom out, the fly to actually like get off that window, to look, and there's an open door the other way, and it's easier. But what we've been trained is easy can't be the way, right? Easy can't be the way. Yeah, it can. That can. And ultimately what we desire is the peace. And I've really, really experienced that on such a deep level. And that's why the work I do with high performers and leaders, it's like, this is the way. I promise you, this is the way. And you will perform at higher levels and you will achieve greater success, but in alignment and at peace.
And that's really the key, because in order for us to achieve that peace and be in alignment with who we are, who God created us to be, we have to slow down. We really have to slow down. And I wanted to transition into you speaking to this piece. So thank you for going there with me, because
we were on it together. Our brains were like, yep.
And that's the beauty. It's like when we are slowing down, we become all minds are connected, and it's so wild. And the more we slow down, the more regulated our nervous systems are, the more in alignment we are with ourselves and with God. We become aligned with each other. That, we literally are thinking on the same wavelengths. I truly believe that. I mean, there's something called thought transference, where it's like, if you think about a person and all of a sudden you get a text or a call, it's like, right? That's a thing. And they're like in another state, so there's something about just that energetic connection that we all have. And it's something that I recognize in myself too, because I used to label myself as a high achiever, perfectionist, just constantly go, to achieve more, do more, to feel like I was enough, to feel like I was worthy. And that's where the surrender came, because I was burning myself out and then really humbling myself before God and just like, I'm exhausted. I want to give up. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go from here. And God's just like, surrender. Just surrender to me. I have a bigger plan. You're over here trying to control every little detail, but what if I want to do something different for you? And I'm like, oh, because I thought I had to like control everything, right? And so it's beautiful to watch, because I got to see you, and at the end of your season of just go, achieve, high performance, entrepreneur, and just building and growing your business, retiring your husband, to now like transitioning into this slow season of just like less is more. And that's what you spoke about at your event this what was it, this past April, just a month ago. And
weeks ago.
It's wild. So because you're just like, there was such a difference between the first time I did the event to this time. But I think it's so powerful for high achievers and entrepreneurs, just like women, just like constantly on the go, that need to hear that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to have those seasons. It's important to tune into your energy, because your energy is going to let you know when to go, and when to back off and slow down and just like rest and restore. Because like I'm, in my second trimester, about to go into my third trimester. And I've experienced those fluctuations where first trimester, I really had to slow down and surrender. Second trimester, I was like, all right, energy's back, brain's back on, let's go. But now I'm like, okay, slowing down again, and just being okay with that, and knowing that everything's happening as it should for a reason. So thank you for sharing that, because I think it's so important that women need to hear.
Yeah. Oh, you're so welcome. There's two things real quick before we move on that you said. It like rang true in my mind when you were talking. Is I talked about my intuition. I know that you're really a big believer in this. And the gift that I could give you if you're listening is to never override your intuition. It's a simple statement, but it's really to live by. And we tend to override our intuition because our mind is made to protect us and what other people are doing, what other people think, what we're like programmed to think. But if I could just like sink in something to you of do not override your intuition, like I wish I trusted that earlier. And the second piece is when you say like energy, there's so much to energy, and energy is everything. And knowing what energetically best serves you and where your energy is best served is so important in life. You're about to become a mama, Kate, which is so exciting. I'm like, seriously, like I've been through that, like with that, you on that journey. It just like gets me like emotional, like thinking like it's going to be such a beautiful season. It's different than the seasons that you've ever been in, right? And so to know, right now with two small children wanting to be more involved in the school and my kids' lives, and I coach U8 soccer, and then like Isaac and I are building things and involved in my church more. Like I'm in a different season. So energetically, where I want to show up, where I want to give my energy, and where I best show up and serve is different. And then the other side of energy is as leaders, which I believe you're probably a leader if you're listening to this, like as leaders, our energy is contagious, good or bad, And so it's like, we have to know that, like, do all that we can to be in that energetic that we want other people to feel from us.
Yeah. Our energy is contagious. I mean, it's so true. It's like when someone's angry, when someone's frustrated. You can like we have some people working on our house today. The other day, I could tell they were frustrated because they didn't have the right tools to do the job efficiently, effectively, and use less energy, right? And so and they're speaking in Spanish, and I don't really understand Spanish, but I could just feel like frustration through the walls, because our energy, it affects the people around us. And so it's so important that we're constantly working on our mental and emotional state, because that's what impacts that energy, that frequency that sends out.
Amen.
And going back to what you said earlier, it's just like, who do I need to be, and be her now? Because I even mentioned this before in a previous episode. It's like, all this talk about like, who do I need to become? It's like, no, we already are who we need to be. We just need to step into that person and be that person now.
Those meditations I know that I've shared with you with Jenna Phillips Fowler. She has 4 meditations, and one of them is Be Her Now, but they're all powerful. So that's a plug to put that in the show notes or whatever, because those are a gift to give people if you're looking for short meditations that are super moving.
Yeah, I can definitely, because I found her meditations on Spotify, so I can definitely pop the link in the show notes for those who are interested in looking, just to tune in and tap into, because that's part of everything that we're talking about. In order to really tune into who we are and be who God created us to be, we need to slow down and surrender. And that's when, our truth comes out and God reveals to us. Because I remember there was one season where it's just like, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to create? And God's just like, just be love. And I was like, just be love.
Yeah.
And it was so simple, but it's so true, because at our core essence is love. But we put all these labels and, beliefs and pattern and conditioning and all these things, and put this mask on, because we feel like this is who we should be and present ourselves to the world, because we want, approval and to feel like we're enough. But it's just like, no, if we look back, to the Bible, it's like, Jesus was plain, he was simple, and all he was just, he just showed up and he served, and he was just love. And that's really all it comes out. And that's why I love you so much, Jenna. And what drew me to you is because you're so heart-centered, you're, you know, serving from that place of love. And it's refreshing, you know, it's so refreshing. It's so rare to see, but you can feel that. And that's why I'm like, you're just a heartfelt, genuine human being, because you can feel that. You can feel when someone is just operating from a place of love and serving from that place. So
thank you so much. You know, you and I have had a lot of conversations. I mean, I fully receive that and appreciate that. We've had a lot of conversations about, at the end of the day, don't take for granted or devalue that you're a heart-centered human and that you genuinely care about people. And the greatest gift that we can give others is love.
Yes.
And trusting in that. You know, sometimes we can try to be like, well, how does that bring in money? How does that make a career? How does that? And I really believe loving people, relationships are key to anything and everything that we do. And I just, you know, I said that about the relationship piece before, but it's like, love people, genuinely care about humans, listen to them, love them. And I believe everything else will be a byproduct and follow, including the money.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that as well. Goodness, Jenna. There's so much that we could dive into today. But the one thing that I would love to wrap up our conversation with and ask you is, what does radiant and resilient mean to you?
Great questions. You are somebody that I think of when I hear the word radiant. And so when I think about radiant, I think about shining bright and putting off an energy that others feel deeply. So yeah, I think that would be my radiant, is you're shining bright, you're sending out light and energy that is so palpable and feeling on the other side. And then resilient, to me as an athlete, it means getting back up time and time again and figuring it out, and never quitting, never giving up. And you know, it's the process of adapting and being flexible and facing challenges and navigating them time and time again. You know, I say my piece to that is like the mental edge, you know, the person's ability to remain focused and poised under pressure. And it's like finding that extra gear, you know, when it's needed most, time and time again. Again, the athlete in me is that. But that's what I think about resiliency, because I've built resiliency as an athlete, you know, and I think that it is one of the most, if not the most important skills that we can teach our children.
Yeah, absolutely. Because things are going to happen that are outside of our control. And I truly believe, like, you know, God can take these challenges away. He really can. But it's in those challenges we're being refined. We're being refined. We're being molded. We're being strengthened, you know, to become the people that He created us to be. So if it were easy, we would never learn. We would never grow. We would never evolve. Just like you said at the beginning, like, we're meant to grow. We're meant to evolve. So thank you for sharing that, because resilience is that. It's what refines us. So thank you again, Jenna, just for your time, for your knowledge, your insights, your wisdom. I mean, there were so many key takeaways, and I'll add a little summary here in the show notes of just like the main points. But, you know, for listeners, after, you know, hearing your message and your story and what you have to share today, where can they find you to learn more about you, and everything that you are offering and providing and serving in this world?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was such an honor. I love you so much. You're an incredible human. I mean that. I would love to connect with you. If you're listening today, the best ways to do so are social media platforms. So Instagram, I'm at Jenna.Klopfenstein. LinkedIn, I'm Jenna Klopfenstein. I'm on there more and more. I would love to connect with you on one of those. My podcast is Next Level You. It is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I would love to have you over there. And then through those, you can join my email list, or you can get my website, and we can talk further just about everything that I have to offer in my world. But at the very foundation of that, I would just love to connect with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jenna.
Thank you.